Hello, Internet, and thank you very much for tuning into the Cloud Native FM podcast. This is your host for this show. My name is Saim Safdar, and today, once again, it's KubeCon. It's KubeCon happening in London. Unfortunately, I'm not there, but one of my two of my field reporters are there, and we're going back to those in a minute as well. So this is platform. Today is all about co-located event at the KubeCon, co-located events happening in terms of their presence in the KubeCon right before the KubeCon happening. So KubeCon, the main KubeCon is it in tomorrow. Today is around some of the conference happening in platform engineering con. I think it's been now ended. I will see how things are executed, which conversation are taking place, and some of the other things around the horizon. But let me go straight to one of my longtime friend and the host of Cloud Therapist YouTube show, and he is at the Gen AI Summit. So over to you, Richard. Thank you very much for joining me. You are now live.
Hey, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you happen to be. Shane, thank you so much. Yes, as you can see, I'm actually not at KubeCon. I'm at the Gen AI Summit. So while everybody else was doing the all these breakouts and whatever else they do, and the mini presentations or whatever they call them at KubeCon, I thought, hey, why don't I go to this Gen AI Summit that I've been invited, very kindly been invited to today. So here I am. I'm there at the moment. We've had some really good presentations and had some good conversations as well. Lots of really interesting people out here today, actually. So yeah, all looking good. And obviously, I'm looking forward to KubeCon from tomorrow onwards, where we're going to be back live streaming again. So there we go.
Awesome. That's perfect. That's you are absolutely in a in I think a rush for the cube gone London is happening a while. I think Richard, remind me of, is it the first KubeCon in London, or is it something held before? In have you have any knowledge about that?
Put it this way: if it happened in London before, I don't remember it. So it's that far back.
Yes, absolutely. We consider it to be the first time KubeCon happening in London. It's been a great place to be in. And we can say that everyone wants Kubernetes to be invisible, but we want KubeCon to be held every time at London. That's where we can live
I
stream
would
and
agree
do.
with that. I would agree with that.
Yes, absolutely. So, Colin, remind me of, we have a field reporter is, and everybody who actually been in the subscriber to the YouTube channel, they know we already did live stream in KubeCon Salt Lake City back in November time in 2024, and then we covered AWS reInvent in December, and this year we actually covered in your YouTube channel, not on mine, and on Cloud Therapist YouTube channel, we covered State of Open Source Con, SuperCon, and now this is our second live stream
We
of
did.
2025, and it's KubeCon London. And I will tell you, I will going back to you, but I will remind you and everyone that our field reporter from London is joining us. He's the CNCF Platform Working Group co-chair. He presented a session at the Platform Engineering Con, and he's the CEO of the Chromeware, and his name is Colin Griffin. So he will be in a minute, and we have some very, very good question to ask for the Colin, because he will be at the Platform Engineering Con, and we need to know what's happening there. So
We have a
Richard,
ton of questions, saying we have a ton of questions, right? It's all about platform engineering, I think, this time around. And I'm looking forward to being there tomorrow, so I can actually grill some of the CNCF members and some of the vendors out there that are still pushing platform engineering and all the other things. So we're going to be, yeah, we're going to see how all of that really goes tomorrow and on Thursday as well. I think it's going to be interesting to see what is kind of the some of the messaging that's coming out for, from KubeCon for this year, and then also to see what is the view as well on the shop floor, so to speak. So we want to really kind of see what the vendors think and just what some of the delegates think. I'm probably going to grab a few of the delegates. I'm trying actually to get one of my contacts at a particular company. A couple of their guys are actually at KubeCon from tomorrow, I think. So I will be trying to maybe get them either tomorrow or Thursday to see what their view is on platform engineering. They're certainly practicing that kind of activity around DevOps and platform engineering and so on. So all of that will be very very interesting indeed.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Richard, for sharing this. And we are now going to one of our wonderful friend, and he's joining us back again on the two YouTube channel. Colin, you are now live. How are you, Colin?
Oh, geez. Well, this will be in the equipment check too.
And all in one.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
we can.
Absolutely.
I can hear you okay.
Awesome. Yeah, we're here at a KubeCon co-located events day. So ready to rock and roll. I tried to find a spot to be. We're having some equipment issues. Wasn't able to get it hooked up to Android. If anybody knows how to do that, then shoot some messages in the chat. But we got, you can see over here just a little bit of the crowd just down there. I found a nice quiet space that we can be upstairs. Hopefully my cable, I'm hooked up over here. Got a nice camera view, all that stuff. So this is actually a really long, this might go down in the record books as like the longest venue. You can't see that direction. I got to get a better spot.
Longest corridor ever.
Yeah, exactly.
Put it this way, Colin. Put it this way, Colin. Even if you arrive on time at London Excel, you'll be late for your conference because of that corridor.
100%. And you don't know either. There's two different train stations.
You got caught by that one.
So if you get off the wrong spot, you're screwed.
Colin, I thought you said, hey, I know that like London is the back of my hand. I was like,
I didn't. Okay. I mean, is the Excel still in London?
Technically.
So far, yeah. No, it's actually it's a much better venue than I expected.
Oh, good. But Colin, you coming out from, first let us know, is platform engineering gone, is actually executed, it's finished?
Yep.
What is its stage now? Is it finished right now?
I think there's one or two more talks. There were definitely, I don't know the official numbers yet, but there were tons of people in the room. It was packed wall to wall, no empty seats. I was really excited to see that this morning. But it's been a great day so far. There's a lot of different co-located events days. One of the new events too, which is really nice, is Cloud Native University. So there's a nice place now for newcomers to the space to come and learn and come to KubeCon as well. We got to break down that barrier to entry. So that was another good event too. But yeah, lots of co-located events. I definitely recommend if anybody comes to KubeCon that you get that co-located events pass. It's definitely worth it.
Yes, absolutely. So Colin is here, and Colin need a very formal introduction because this is our once again doing live back in the KubeCon and doing stuff. So Colin need a very formal introduction so people know them. Colin is one of those person I have to spend more and more time in the CNCF platform working group and all of the other kind of things as well. So guys, you have to know this, that Colin is a platform working group co-chair. And they have going through some restructuring, and that's Colin will be letting us know what that is as well. Colin is also a CEO of the Chromeware company, and that he will tell us. He need to tell us like how their customer approached them during the KubeCon, if they are here as well. And also he's been giving some talks at the main KubeCon, and also he did some session today as well. So this guy is absolutely one of those person who is absolutely busy all the time as well. So tons of appreciation, Colin. I know it's your very busy schedule. Setting these equipment is not easy. I know that during the conference is that, but it's tons of congratulations because things are working very smooth. Your voice is good. Camera settings are wonderful.
Awesome.
So it's been great. Thank you very much for doing this kind of stuff as well. And Colin, as you know, there's our Richard is at Gen AI Summit. So there should be our questions around what's happening on the Gen
doubling
AI
up
as well. Yes, absolutely. 100%.
Look, only the best for our subscribers and viewers, right? They get two conferences in one in this live stream.
Pack it in. Pack it in.
Yes, that's a wonderful phrase, absolutely. But back to the Colin as well, and I ask Richard if they have question as well. But first thing first, because we know, me and Colin know that something happening, this restructuring takes place in the platform working group as well. And also, Colin, because this is our days one of KubeCon, some people are absolutely not familiar with the platform working group in the CNCF, what we guys are doing, what our aim are as well. So give us a very quick
Sure.
intro of our intro and plus the current state of the working group.
Sounds good. Yes, the platform working group was born a few years ago out of the technical advisory group for app delivery. Over the past few years, we've worked on some industry white papers, such as the platform white paper, as well as the platform maturity model. And those have been inspirational pieces for a lot of other residual works, but it's mainly from a cloud native standpoint and a great guide for companies to follow as they grow into and adopt platform engineering practices. Today, what it's looking like, and we have yet to finalize some things. So we're making some presumptions, but we're kind of going in a direction here. But there's some restructuring with the technical advisory groups in the CNCF, and we're adapting to that as well. We've been functioning as we're underneath the structure of a working group, but we've kind of been acting incorrectly as a working group. Working groups are meant to be short-term and short-lived, and the CNCF is addressing that broadly and kind of changing how these groups are formed. So we as the working group are planning to change to a community instead of a working group, and we want to continue the mission of being an inclusive and ecosystem that especially newcomers, but people that are coming to the CNCF can join our community and then find ways to contribute to other projects. And obviously we find tons of opportunities for platform engineering and representation for platform engineers across many of the different specific tags and some of the technical verticals. So we really want to lean into that, and we want to provide and be a facilitating group that can help guide people to those projects, but represent from a platform engineering mindset. So we're excited about the change. It's going to open up some things for us, and it'll help us collaborate more effectively with the CNCF and promote the CNCF mission. So we're definitely excited about that opportunity to be a community. What it means as part of a larger whole is, like, we're not the only ones in that situation. And it's an attempt to make the ecosystem a bit healthier for community groups. And so we've been doing a lot of work, went to the Maintainer Summit as well, but we're excited about the direction the CNCF is taking here. And we're excited for to hopefully maybe trailblaze or set a good positive example of how a community can contribute.
Awesome. Thank you very much for Colin for giving us some introduction and the current state of the working group as well. So Richard, if you have some question particularly around Colin for what's happening in the platform engineering con today, you can ask. It's our time to ask.
Yeah. I think for me, Colin, it was what were the main topics that you guys have been discussing? I mean, I've heard a lot of different things out there. I think I shared with you some of the articles that I've kind of been reading recently. But what's kind of the first of all, what were the topics, and then what's been the outcome of some of those discussions that you guys have had?
Yeah, 100%. So there's a lot of topics around platform as a product and what that means to companies. I think it's a natural evolution or kind of growth of the platform engineering practice, but this idea for platform as a product, that we need to apply some product development principles to our platform strategies, but more importantly, companies are understanding and realizing that we need to understand our end users better and provide better experiences, but also provide pathways for better collaboration with those groups as well. And so a lot of that focus, we think, is kind of this year's evolution of platform engineering. And in addition to that, there's a lot of talk around the philosophy behind platforms in general and how do companies get started and adopt that. So lots of really, really, really great talks today. I couldn't even stay for all of them, but I hope that they're all published up there on for the recordings, and I'd encourage everybody to go watch those recordings. It's definitely my favorite platform engineering day so far. And also kind of indicative of that, there's a whole dedicated platform engineering track at KubeCon this year as well. There just seems to be a lot of energy and interest around this today.
Okay, and Colin, what about sort of this, platform engineering in general, sort of impacting, enterprises, impacting customers? Was there anything around supporting, customers, some of the content that the working group is working on, and just kind of
Sure.
general, sort of education in terms of enablement, and for those who've already invested in things like DevOps, is there any kind of support? How can they sort of, if they're not necessarily strictly doing maybe platform engineering, is there support for kind of, helping them to kind of, move on to that, to transition to that?
Yeah, so the best place to start today for companies that might be feeling like there's more to DevOps, right? I think the bridge when you start to develop a platform engineering practice is you start to see more of the people process, but also maybe some of the business value and process, and that converging with some of your technical strategy. No longer do we need to treat IT like it's over in a box in the corner. I think the evolution of platform engineering is people maturing in that understanding. But there's a tremendous amount of companies that are going through that phase of adoption, or making that realization and trying to figure out what to call it. And platforms is where they land. For the talks today, there were several case studies from some large multinational banks. And I think I'd like to see some more small companies highlighted in some of these as well, but lots of really great case studies. And I just don't want to spoil the recordings. We need to encourage people to go to watch those talks as opposed to get it from me. But the best place to probably start and educate yourself is go check out the platform maturity model and the platform white paper from, you can Google for tag app delivery platform white paper or platform maturity model. I'd say familiarize yourself with the concepts and the terminology, dig into that maturity model and find an area that you display some traits and some behaviors that match you up with places on that maturity model. And that will help you kind of level set and understand where you need to start. Likely you're already doing some of these things, but if you've never used a maturity model in concept before, it also tries to guide you a little bit more of a step-by-step through the beginnings and like the provisional stages, through the implementation and formalization, and then through to the optimizing phases. A lot of the common chatter when we're having the hallway track discussions are from people that are adopting tools and kind of jumping past the understanding of how they do their work and straight into, well, how does the tool do it? Or how can I do this efficiently from day one? And that's you're kind of missing or bypassing the point of platform engineering, which is really to understand and engineer your processes from the start, and then build optimizations to facilitate workflows and to automate and encourage self-service for some of those patterns. But without understanding the way you operate at the core, you're really just skipping past a major piece. So I'd say go just understand what platform engineering looks like from an academic perspective, understand the maturity model, then go assess yourself and your organization against that and find ways to get going. The best thing to keep in mind, I think, too, is you don't need to be a platform engineer in order to get started with this. Many platform initiatives start with the developers themselves and start with people that just need to make their jobs easier. And there begins to come a situation or a phase where other units or other people in your organization may begin to adopt some of the same practices, or even take on the responsibility and burden of support for some of those services. And that's when we really see some of that formational magic happen, where we see platform teams being built and dedicated. And if you're a business stakeholder at these companies, platform engineering teaches you what the business value of the technology is. So you don't need to guess anymore, well, as much, still figuring things out, but you don't need to really guess as far as what the ROI looks like. It gives you an opportunity to understand what the business impact means for the technical side as well. So I'm really just excited about the practice in general. I think it's merging. Obviously, it's socioeconomic, it's merging the social side with the technical side, but I think more importantly, it's helping us find ways to tie the business side to the technical side as well.
Yes, absolutely. And I think one of the things that me and Richard is talking about a lot in our one of the offline conversation is that we tend to feel like from the outsider perspective, not the very nerdy people who are doing in the platform engineering thing, but the very outsider people. Like some people might say, like in a platform engineering, you are dictating developer, or you can use this, let's say Argo CD, you can use this principle, you can use these practices. And we know that that's never been a successful approach. You can't tell a developer which framework, which tools, or sometimes standards, even having so many standards out there, not just a one standard. So, Colin, what's your insight from the very outsider perspective? We know there are some companies outside of cloud native. They want to be a cloud native companies because of the features that we have. And also the cloud native is not just a one technology, it's bringing in the ecosystem that everybody loves to be a part of it. That's the beauty of it. Now there's outsider company, there's already companies adopting cloud native, and they want to know like where are we as of today, where we want to be, and what's next for us in the horizon. That's one of the part of the question. But the typical question is around developers. Like, do we dictate them? Is it possible that the platform engineers tell them, oh, these are already back into your platform. Let's try to use and build something fancy out of it.
Sure. To hit the first part of the question, we talk a lot in cloud native. We associate Kubernetes really as Kubernetes is kind of the catalyst for the growth and popularity of cloud native, but it's the result of the need of a certain type of working, a certain way of working, a certain type of technology. Kubernetes is the next natural evolution of that, and it provides us with the ability to dictate rules and create our own private clouds and create rules and processes and things around those. It just gives us the raw tools to do that. And so I think without cloud native, it would maybe have been too difficult to go down this road. But as companies grow their maturity in that space and understand that new way of working, it presents other challenges that surface the need for a practice like platform engineering to address different things. So you're not necessarily strictly introducing new complexities by implementing Kubernetes that result in, oh crap, we need platform engineering. You've really just unlocked some things for your organization, and you've maybe broken through a glass ceiling of efficiency or some other things when you adopted and built maturity in Kubernetes. But that, there's always going to be a next ceiling to break through. And I think platform engineering is reflective of that. But when we create these environments and we leverage tools like Kubernetes that rely on different teams and sets of experience to provide input into that ecosystem, to provide those rules and those configurations, developers being able to define on their workloads how much memory and CPU that they need, to be able to request a GPU, who designs and develops the configurations to implement infrastructure as code, to deploy a machine that has a GPU attached, and the drivers that need to be deployed to that, and the OS updates that need to happen. How do we get those different groups to work together? They're going to leverage Kubernetes as an interface for that, and the other tools and things that run on Kubernetes, but it also levels the playing field for the different tools as a part of that. But in some situations, we need to consult with the developers and tell them what the art of the possible looks like for them within this new environment, especially if they're not necessarily the new full stack of full stacks that have Kubernetes and backend and front end and framework experience and all those things. But we need to advise them on how to operate. But in platform engineering, the most effective teams are those that find ways to enable the developers or just any team that they're supporting. I mean, it can be SRE, it can be data and database teams, it's security teams, it's a much broader ecosystem than just the developers. Saying developers is just the low-hanging fruit. We have to understand from their perspective what tools they need to use and how they need to do their jobs. So if they are the experts in that domain, we can't possibly dictate how they need to operate. But we need to be able to create a feedback loop and get their have a way to build a deeper understanding of how they can work, and then maybe go back to them with some compromises or go back to them with options and things that they can support. But a lot of people do, when they put their DevOps strategy in place, they say, okay, all of my teams need to follow the same processes. That doesn't work. There's maybe for smaller companies, but there's no one size fits all. And platform engineers need to find a way to meet those developers at the way that they're operating, and then build that bridge and help the platform operate and provide an interface for the other team members they need to collaborate with, so to kind of build that bridge. But there is there's an art to also enabling those developers to contribute to the development of that part of the platform and help them work within certain rules. And I think in open source, those of us who are in this environment are used to that mindset of inner sourcing or sharing projects or collaborating, having multiple roles collaborate on the same project. That just makes sense to us. But for organizations that may not normally be in that mode, just looking at how the CNCF operates and what these tools are born out of, and how adopting an open source strategy or adopting the cloud native ecosystem can provide some new freedom and flexibility and create more tools. Yes, it adds complexity in it because it adds flexibility and everything there, but operating with that mindset and putting those patterns and structures in place, again, unlocks some of those new things. And we say that out loud, but then there's the act of actually doing it. And that's where platform engineering, as opposed to just platforms and concept, really comes into place. We have to provide the tools, the enablement. We need to do the assessments. We need to talk to people. We need to potentially do tours of duty and go live in the roles of those other people and then come back with a greater understanding. We even need UI and UX design patterns to be implemented here. We think, oh, I don't need that for a developer environment. You absolutely need that for a developer environment or for security teams. So this practice will continue to grow and evolve. And the funny part about it, though, at the end of the day, is we're talking through this, everyone's going to step back and say, well, isn't that software development? Yeah, it actually is, now that you think about it. So will we even, it's a natural evolution. Will we even be talking about platform engineering in a couple of years, or will it just be good software development? Who knows? I think it's here to stay, but it's just an interesting thing to think about.
Yes, absolutely. You're phrasing it perfectly well, because I think back in the day when I started my software development, developer pick and choose the tool they actually think they are more easily able to adopt those. But remember, we're working in a team. It's not just about me developing feature, how all the different team collaborate and interoperable within their development environment. When you pick a choose or do something in your delivery cycle, it's easy to adopt. But then later down the road, you need supply chain security tooling. You need governance and automation. You need CI/CD tooling. That's where industry would never able to talk about this from the ground up, from the day 01 of the development environment. And luckily, right now, some people say, oh, there's nothing in the idea, and you talking about the future where I need to be. So something, oh, you guys are so nerdy. Let's pause the conversation, started when actually we ended up there. But I think being an idea is good. Like, remember in a cluster, We talk about you have a policy enforcement in front of you. So you do not forensic your cluster when it's actually been down. Let's make sure something that doesn't belong to the cluster ends up never being in the cluster. That's what we're talking about in the platform engineering. Things, the do's and the don'ts. The don'ts doesn't belong to your software delivery cycle. They shouldn't be there from day 01. It's not just you practicing in the 2 months and then you try to strip down the version out of it. Make sure that doesn't belong to it as well. I think that's what is well. And also on the platform engineering maturity model, Colin, you know that is a plus. Microsoft actually created a capability model out of the platform engineering model. They took the inspiration from us. Like, that's great news for the guys who are us. Actually, nothing is a free job for us, spending time with the CNCF. And we make sure, is it a good thing we're actually investing on? Then we see the companies is now cloning and making inspiration for our stuff.
Well,
that make us know, like,
careful
that's
saying
good.
I don't want to, and I don't want to accuse Microsoft of that at all. I think there's a lot of similarity between the two models, and I think they definitely inspire each other. But I want to be really careful about that, because it's like saying somebody copied a song to a degree. A lot of these, but I think it does. The similarities in the Microsoft model is, honestly, it's more mature. It's an amazing. I encourage people to go just Google platform engineering maturity Microsoft, and you'll get right to the guide. There's a bunch of extra stuff in there about business value. It's incredibly effective, like talking about OKR frameworks and other things there. Huge applause to the Microsoft team. I really love their guide as well. But I do think it's a testament to the validity of this as a practice, that there are so many similarities between the two in concept.
Yes. Oh, thank you very much for actually correcting me out. But I don't know why, but adrenaline and dopamine is so high that actually mismatch some of the word as well. Sorry about that as well. But let's go to the another trend, because I'm actually sandwiched between, don't know how do I call it. I'm actually in the far
AI.
left. Yes, I'm far left for the platform engineering to the AI trend these days. Absolutely. So talk about platform engineering. And Richard, can you give us a very quick glimpses of Gen AI Summit? And also, what do you think, what is the role of platform engineering for the AI development that we're talking about every day?
Yeah, so I mean, just before we go to that, just going back to the point that you made initially, saying about developers. I've been actually saying that for about a year now. I did a panel discussion early last year, 2024, with three very very enthusiastic platform engineer guys from all over the place, and I had a conversation with them around this, and I said, what's going to happen to the developers of this? So where's the kind of the developer voice of this? Because they have their own tools. They kind of, developers are kind of artists. They have their own tools. They like their sort of own IDE and the libraries that they refer to and the websites that they go to and whatever. And I said, where is the kind of the where do we kind of leave the developers with this? And very interestingly, I picked up an article just the other day, actually, which was saying exactly the same sentiments as I was saying. So, I mean, it was kind of very, saying things like, be cognizant of, the developers and kind of their requirements. It almost kind of, uses the same wording as I was kind of putting out. I put this up in an article, I think August or September last year as well, and kind of again echoing the same sort of things that I'd done on the YouTube video that I did early last year. So I think that's quite interesting. Now, in terms of kind of bringing in Gen AI into it, the discussions here have really been mainly about kind of using generative AI in an enterprise environment. So actually implementing Gen AI in whatever capacity, but mainly for a sort of a an internal use, potentially a customer-facing use. So how people kind of built things like chatbots, and how do they augment them with Gen AI over the last sort of 18 months or so. So a lot of the attendees here are quite high caliber. There's lots of finance companies and energy companies and so on. So it's quite an interesting summit actually. I have also picked up on how can Gen AI sort of drive this whole space around development and platform engineering. So obviously we all know that around code development, code gen, and so on, it's already there. We've had things like GitHub Copilot and so on, and Cursor and various other sort of websites and these sort of services that are already doing that. There is also discussions around sort of how it can help with things like DevOps, actually being in the DevOps sort of pipeline, working on things like platform engineering, automating, testing, and things like that. So I think that whole area is going to be affected by Gen AI. But I think it's initially going to be, mainly as we've kind of seen things like GitHub Copilot, it's kind of an assistant. It's going to bring in some automation, is going to bring some assistance into that process and really help us maybe, generate, boring, laborious tests that we have to do, for example, to our software, and we're not really keen on maybe generating those or documenting those. So it's very good at that, and I think that's kind of where we see it, initially happening. Platform engineering, I think it's still early days. There has been some discussions around that, but not a huge amount in terms of where it can do that. And maybe, I don't know, Colin, maybe you and I can kind of, next couple of days, we're going to pick up a lot more on that and have a conversation with some of the, people in the showcase.
Yep, I think platform engineering, we're going to find ways to dog food and find ways for AI to help platform engineering in practice, obviously, but we're already in a position and being asked to say, how do we implement this? How do we provide the people in our company with access to these tools? And so I've been really interested and excited to watch that. I think companies are realizing the need for this practice because they try to adopt AI and they can't, or there are other things that they discover, other requirements. And AI is one of those things that's so perilous, because it's so easy to use that you also think maybe it's easy to operate. And there are a lot of things to consider for best practice, and companies are realizing that I don't want that model to suck up my data and use it as a training tool. We're trying to be careful about, is something that my company produced generated by AI? Do I need to protect that somehow? What if it says something bad or incorrect? Am I liable for that? There's all kinds of new challenges there. I think though the most instant example is support for remediation, though, which has really been interesting. I have this error. What do I do with it? And being able to get that information closer to the environment we're operating in, it helps everybody that's participating. And it's the lowest hanging fruit there. So I've been really excited to see some of those remediation examples, because if you can save hours and hours and hours of time investigating and debugging something, even correcting something, what a huge impact that has, which is great. So how do we leverage AI to do some of our work for us so that we can actually do the jobs that we were hired for? That's kind of the way that I look at it. So I'm excited. So Richard, tell me about some of the primary topics that they have going on at the Gen AI Summit. What do you think are the kind of the key things they're striking on there?
Yeah, so I think, generally it was, how did we use it? So there's a lot of, like I said, demonstrations and, how it was implemented, what are we using it for? So use cases has been kind of a big thing. Implementation, so what does that look like? Like I said, a lot of the organizations here have deep pockets, so they're not your average company. So they're talking about, foundational model kind of work. So not kind of on the inference side, but the training side. So because they can afford to do that, but not every organization out there can kind of afford that. I brought up the theme of sovereignty. So generally, sovereign computing, sovereign cloud computing, sovereign data, and then an interesting area, sovereign sort of operations. So even if you're in a public cloud and you're kind of guaranteed maybe on the data side, so you have geographically your data is guaranteed to be in the maybe geopolitical region that you need it to be. and it's encrypted and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of ring fenced in a way, and that's guaranteed in the SLA and the contract with your cloud provider. What about some of the tools that the cloud provider offers? So things like observability and monitoring tools. When they're generating metrics, where is that metrics and that data being actually processed? Is it processed within your region, or is it going back to the original cloud service provider's region or whatever, or country? So, there is a lot of dimensions to sovereignty. And I'm mentioning that because we in T-Systems actually have, a focus on that quite a lot. We offer sovereign clouds. We have a deal with Google Cloud. We have a Google Sovereign Cloud solution. So I was interested in that because I think as organizations start, using AI or Gen AI for their own internal data, but also their own customer data, how do they comply with that? And they're necessarily in regulated markets. They're just average everyday organization that is using Gen AI. But then how do they guarantee, apart from the usual sort of GDPR, tick boxes and things like that, how do they guarantee that all of that sort of information and that data is sovereign and it's within the sort of the confines of the of the area that they need to comply with, or they need to make sure is secured. So that sovereignty was kind of my question that I was kind of bringing up to all the speakers. Much to my surprise, not many of them actually were aware of that. I think a lot of the financial companies, the banks that were presenting and so on, kind of automatically said, yeah, we already comply with all of those things. That's fine. But like I said, that doesn't mean the average organization does that or is aware of those things. So that was, and then the other one was kind of the more aspect of it where we're talking about, we're talking more about the kind of how do we use it in a kind of a responsible way? How do we use AI in a responsible manner so that we can actually be able to implement it and have it running in a responsible manner? That was also another important aspect of it. And then beyond that, it was the usual kind of security aspects and various other things that were all also being discussed as part of that sort of presentation. And a lot of it kind of really focused on those things. The responsible AI, like I said, sort of data security that was being discussed, how it was implemented as well, and how organizations or the use cases, like I said. I don't know why people kind of got hung up a lot on the use cases, because to me that's very, well, you can use it everywhere. It's really my sort of answer to that. So I don't know why there was a lot of hang up on that. And I think mainly it's because, like I said, while the banks and so on kind of know how to do that, okay, we're going to create a chatbot, it's going to talk to you about your, loan and mortgage or your insurance that you're trying to take out on your house or whatever it is. That's relatively simple. That's very straightforward kind of use case. But I think the other organizations are maybe struggling in terms of, where do they use it? Do we just drop like all our Word documents and PDFs into it and then be able to query it? An interesting use case that came up, and I've actually been speaking about that as well, is, well, can we put an LLM between me and an SQL database? And then I can query the database using natural language. The LLM does the translation for the SQL query language, and then gives me the answer back in English again. So rather than getting a table back or comma separated values or or I have to generate a report and format it and things like that, I actually want the Gen AI to do that for me. I don't want to do that. I don't even want to talk to my SQL server anymore. I want the Gen AI to do that for me. And that was actually something that I was thinking about, and then somebody actually talked about it today in one of their presentations. So all of that, I think, is goodness, but we need to, the use cases still need to come out. We still need to discuss more about them as well.
Yep.
Yes, 100%. And I think if I could try to conclude the conversation, and please correct me if I'm wrong. So there's a three angle you need to check into it. Like one of the terms I'm recently hearing about is called AI distribution challenge. Like using a software, usually you just download this software and it's run, and go let's forget about it. But the AI is not like that. You need to build some mechanism, because the data is everyone has to be very trustworthy about it as well. And then there's I think another challenge that what I see in the industry we're moving forward to, and we look forward to having what the KubeCon is actually giving us insight about it. Like in the open source model, that we have some companies building around their own solution, and below there's a licenses coming up. In the AI world, the terminology that people use is called AI wrapper companies. Like they're using some foundational models, and they have AI apps running on top of those foundational model. How these it's very similar. These two paradigm in the platform engineering and the AI works quite of a similar challenges. Like when you look at it in a very far lens, the challenges appear to be very similar. But that's KubeCon is in the next 3 days, and both of you are doing field reporting, and we want some answer out of those as well. And also, I think the next big question I'm looking forward to this conference as well is like, when you go into as AI continues to take center stage, is also been in the center stage, where is industry headed, especially with data governance and regulation emerging as critical challenges, and how software supply chain security companies preparing to address these challenges. We know there's companies building around policy management and these kind of capabilities. Are they really investing in this new challenge that AI is pouring into us? Like, there's a huge challenge. Everybody know what's the value of AI, but the adoption, it's still not the way it should have to be. And that is the Richard point, the data and everybody not have trust to it, putting their data somewhere else. That never has to be. And are there the supply chain security in the cloud native we know of? Are they battling it out on something like this? And also another question that I'm looking forward to seeing, like, is platform engineering is a conversation in the Friday, and then that's where you close off the week. Like, it's a conversation where you close off the week, or it's really interesting. Like, enterprises are ready to say less. Yes, we are ready. We need some people, expert, and we're just ready to roll that up. So these are the question, and your job is to find this question for our audience. And I will look forward to see what's in the chat, how people react to those as well, and all these kind of specs. But this is the day zero. First thing, before actually wrapping up the conversation, because there is small time left, first I go to the college to give us a very shortest summary of the platform engineering con. And after watching those talk, what is your prediction? What's coming out of this year KubeCon London?
Awesome. I think this year the story is help our developers. Well, developers can be anybody, right? So let's find ways to help the people at our organizations, give them the right tools to do the right jobs the right way, right, at the end of the day. So I think platform as a product is really the big story out of that. And I welcome that, because it means that we're trying to understand and learn how our software can help the people that use it, internal users, external users, having that empathy, having that understanding, instead of dictating, like you said before, instead of dictating how they need to do their jobs, learning from them and adapting from that. And I think a return to that mode of caring, because we now have the tools. I think that's the big story that I'm most excited to see here at KubeCon, is like, now that everyone seems to be doing it, what lessons have they learned? What are some great examples of how they've done that? And how can AI complement that as well?
Oh, awesome. Good. Going back to the Richard, a small amount of time left. So let us know, like, you are the Gen AI Summit, and now you're heading back to the KubeCon London. So let us know, what are your predictions for the next 3 days?
Well, my prediction is that my feet are going to be very tired, because I'm going to be walking around the showcase area. quite a bit, and I'm probably going to have a sore throat as well from all the talking, all the interviews online and offline. So anybody who's subscribed to the Cloud Therapist channel, there's going to be lots of talks coming out of KubeCon as well that I will be releasing later on. So just away from the live stream itself, there'll be other talks as well, because I've actually lined up a whole bunch of people that I'll be talking to. But I mean, I'm certainly going to be talking a lot more to people about platform engineering. Anybody who says platform engineering, I'm probably going to zoom into their into their stand and try and talk to them to get their view on things. That's for sure. But there's also other themes as well in this space. So definitely kind of the role of AI, where it is, and kind of maybe seeing some of the latest advances in that. I've spoken to people that are and read articles around sort of AI, securing the supply chain and things like that. I really don't know how far that is. I know that's just kind of buzzwords for now. So that's something maybe we can try and kind of work on over the next couple of days on the live stream, definitely. And Kubernetes. I mean, I've just done again a sort of a mini documentary on Kubernetes. It's had 10 years of development, still as complicated and hard to implement as ever. You still need to be a rocket scientist to really kind of get the best out of it. What happened to multi-tenancy? That all seems to have disappeared. Is anybody doing multi-tenancy anymore? I don't know. So lots of questions there for Kubernetes people. So if you're a Kubernetes vendor, watch out. I'm coming for you the next couple of days.
Oh yes, that's a wonderful way to end the conversation here as well. And thank you very much for joining us today. And what is your? And I'm going back to once again Colin, because next 2 3 days are very busy for both of you. It's super busy. Colin is actually also working on finding some people who are actually interested in Chromeware as well. Also in the platform engineering talk, also presenting some sessions as well. So he's a very super busy. But Colin, can you give us, if I ask you to pick some of the list or create a list of booths where you want to be during the next 2 days, next 2 3 days, what those booths are?
Oh, man, that's an impossible question. Holy cow. Honestly, to be honest, this sounds like a shill for the CNCF maybe. I'm most excited about going to the project booths. Not even kidding. There's a lot of really great vendor solutions, a lot of really mature solutions and things out there, but man, the projects are where the real action is. That's where the most fun is. And if I can get to them and understand why they built a thing a certain way, it's going to help me understand more of the purpose behind that, get me into kind of other domains. But the project pavilion is the place to be in my mind.
Yes, absolutely. That's a place to be in, absolutely, because these projects in the cloud native space are now in upstream adoption and in the production. Like it's not a debate anymore. These projects like Knative or Argo CD, Flux, Linkerd, Istio, or these projects, there are so many other. I'm actually for there's a list in this whole cloud native landscape. These are now in the production environment, and as Colin mentioned, Project Pavilion is always been the best place to see where the project is going on. But Richard, what is your pick list for food?
Well, I already sent all the Kubernetes vendors, so they're going to be running and hiding now that I've said it. They'll all be watching this live stream. So that's certainly on my list. The other ones are certainly around kind of platform engineering. Like I said, kind of get my view on it, and maybe we can compare notes with Colin on that later on the subsequent live streams that we're going to have next couple of days. But then the other one is cloud networking. This seems to be, apart from like a handful of people like NetData and maybe Aviatrix and Thousand Eyes, which is part of Cisco, and so on, it seems to be like a black magic. It's like black magic art or something. So that's an area that I certainly want to be exploring at KubeCon. And Backstage, I think we talked about Backstage, so I'll probably chat with them as well, kind of see where they are, and seems to have made some a bit of a splash in that sort of platform engineering space. That'll be interesting to talk about as well. We're going to see them. And then beyond that, it's really just looking at anything innovative, anything in this sort of the automation space, anything that combines sort of automation and AI, anything that's innovative, new startups and things like that. I have a few favorites. I won't mention them today, so I will probably get them out into the live stream the next couple of days. You don't know. You might kind of see me go off the live stream, and they'll go, "What happened to Richard?" And then I'll be back on again. I'll say, "Hey, look, I'm at the XYZ stand, right? So I'm going to talk to them." So yeah,
Yes.
I'm looking forward to all of that. It should be good fun.
Absolutely, 100%. Next 2 days or 3 days of extravaganza coming up on Cloud Therapist and Cloud Native FM YouTube channel as well. And also, as I'm mentioning, as the point to the Colin make and the Richard make as well, there's a project, even the AI companies are now starting to adopting the methodologies of CNCF kind of a similar tool. I see a new tool called GitOps, and it's using the OCI approach for distributing the ML modeling inferencing. So this means these tools that we actually see in CF and all of these community build out, it's now adding more use cases to what they already been doing. That's very interesting space to watch out for as well. But you guys are super busy. I won't make you here for so long because tomorrow I know it's a very busy day for both of you. And remember, guys, these will be both together at the same place, but on the different venues or somewhere in the different booths as well. Today they are very far from each other, I believe, but tomorrow they are reuniting for our field reporting job as well. Richard, this is your first time of field reporting, I guess. Colin already has done it in the last year.
Colin is a veteran of this.
Yes.
That was quite short, but I am looking forward to it. And yeah, maybe we'll play Find the Field Reporter tomorrow. Who knows? That might be
Yes,
fun.
absolutely. And thanks for the reminder, Richard, that Richard already done a field reporting on state of open source one. I think it's in February, March time somewhere. That they already did it. Yes. But the professional field reporter is in between the both of us. It's Colin. We already did it. So we're looking forward to see how things are coming up. Guys, make sure we have some offline interviews as well that we actually also use to share with our audience who actually have some similar questions what we are talking about. Is that I am able to collect more and more data from the Slack channel and different places, what the people think around, what their actual questions are, and see how to figure it out. So thank you very much for joining us on this YouTube channel. It's been once again always excited to connect with you, both of you. Thank you very much. You're both busy today in different places, spending time with some of the community member. Colin also presented session. He also did some talks, and then he straight back to us, hanging 1 hour with us, telling us what the actually co-located event is all about. So it's really appreciated. Thank you very much for doing this for our audience, and we look forward to meeting you again. Thank you very much for watching the Cloud Native FM, and Richard watching the Cloud Therapist YouTube channel for this KubeCon live extravaganza. Looking forward to meeting you again tomorrow with some very good guests lining up in this stream as well. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye, everyone.